Hello, fellow internet people, and welcome to another journey down the deep rabbit holes of the internet. What a cool way to say we're going to complain about a shitty Twitter account, isn't it? So, as of right now, I'm working on another longer video, similar to my David Firth video. However, I have no idea when that is going to be done. I have set my deadline to March 12th after I finish the David Firth video and felt ready to begin working on something else. I've done some research for it, downloaded a few files, and basically haven't touched it since. So when that is going to get done, it's somewhere in the distant future, and I'm really not in the mood to touch it anytime soon. I wish there was a way to get to it, but I don't know. And speaking of ways to get people to touch things, today we're going to be talking about dating advice. Did you guys miss this? Did you miss my awkward, awful sex puns? We're bringing it back to the old days, let's fucking go. I have been watching a lot of reactions to dating experts, dating coaches, alpha males lately, and I have actually found them really entertaining because this might sound kind of wrong, but I think we all really like feeling somewhat superior to someone every once in a while. And whilst I often tend to think of myself as a relatively shitty person, at least these people allow me to tell myself. Well, at least I'm not a self-proclaimed expert on getting laid, preying on male sadness, profiting off promoting toxic gender roles, and probably causing a few guys to become sexual offenders along the way. I have really high standards for myself, I know, thank you. Now, before we get to talk about the dating coach in question today, I would like to first address a few things which I feel like should be addressed. Number one, when talking about dating coaches, I'm not talking about actual qualified experts, psychologists, therapists. I'm mostly talking about people like Dan Bacon.
How can you get an ex back who wants nothing to do with you?
What to do when she asks about your age? I know, fucking tell her? Well, straight people life is complicated.
My age is the same number as your IQ score, 22.
Wow. Nothing makes a woman moist more than having her intellect insulted. Number two, as you might know if you've been watching this channel for way too long, I have actually made a video on dating coaches before, and in that video, one of the things I had to address, it was about 2 years ago, was that I was 15 at the time, and my experience with dating was pretty much non-existent.
Aren't you like 15?
Now, what's depressing is that basically hasn't changed in those 2 years. What's important is that it doesn't really matter. Yeah, at least to you, you know. Whilst I don't agree with everything I've said in that video, one thing I definitely stand by is that personal experience really doesn't matter when you're trying to give advice that's supposed to be for everyone.
When I think about it, most of his videos could be summarized as follows. I've slept with 250 women. This is what I think caused it, but I can't give you any actual reasons to believe me. Buy my shit.
Basically, trust me bro is not the victory roar you should be leading your alpha wolf pack with. And thirdly, I guess this kind of goes without saying, but this video is going to involve some mild sexual discussion. I would like to evade it, but considering who we're talking about today, that's basically near impossible. So, whom is this brave challenger fighting against the unholy ranks of people not wanting to be told how to behave based on their genitals? Whom is this alpha leader fighting against the deletion of long expired files of old relationship values? Well, his name is Rivelino, I guess I can tell you that much. Alpha Rivelino, or Rivelino, the artist of what I don't know. It's a Twitter account with almost 40,000 followers, which has apparently been up since 2010. Right out the gate, there's something somewhat strange about this account. I promise I will explain what that banner is all about later on. Please just try your best not to worry about it for now. Don't think about the bulge. I repeat, do not think about Mr. Joseph Robinette Biden's bulge. Thank you. Apart from the slightly disturbing account banner, the account is mostly just an endless library of bad, sexist relationship advice, which you can scroll through pretty much indefinitely. 69 key tweets, wow. Nice. And I'm fairly certain I could pretty much pick any one of these 69,000 tweets and check the box of either being very sexist, toxic, or just outright bizarre. I'll put a few tweets up on screen right now, you can pause the video and read through all of them. However, one tweet in particular that caught my attention is called The Pick List of Slut Towels. Now there are two great things about this tweet. Number one is that it's written like a fucking Shakespearean play. For you, noble cocksmith of the internet, I give you this list of slut towels to help you screen gals out for relationships, or screen them in for a quick dick-in. And number two is that it basically compiles most, if not all of the shitty takes this guy has into one singular list. So let's have a look at some. So, here we are. The big list of slut towels. Now, I'm not going to be going through all of these, mostly because there is a lot of them. As far as I've read, and as far as I remember, I do not agree with a single thing said on this list. I think it's mostly judging people based on their appearance, like people with piercings, people with tattoos, people with long hair. But I have gone through this list and I have marked a few criteria which particularly struck me as just disgusting. I mean, judging people for liking EDM music or losing their virginity early is already pretty bad, but it gets worse. Child of divorce or unmarried parents. You're basically judging a person based off something they have no control over. Now I'm well aware people who get raised by one person instead of two probably get impacted by it in some ways, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like you're saying it does. Has male hobbies, sports, gambling, etc. Now, two things. Number one, hobbies aren't gendered. Number two, gambling is not a hobby. Gambling is an addiction. Comes from a poor or lower class family. Again, why are we judging people based off of things they literally cannot control? And here's the thing, I've said I'm not very experienced with dating. Dude, is this how it works? You go to a club, you meet a woman, and you're like, hey, is your mom divorced or not? Another one, and probably the worst thing written on this entire list, is claims she was abused in the past. Now, there's a lot of layers to the problem with this. Number one, he's using claims and quotation marks as if to imply that abuse does not happen, or that if you claim you are abused, it's probably not true. Problem number two, what is this ongoing trend with people having a shitty background, which they really can't control, and you telling people to directly not associate with them? What you're basically saying to your 40,000 fucking following is that if a person was abused, if a woman was abused, you should probably just use her for sex. Which is one of the most disgusting things I have ever heard. Yeah, it's just embarrassing. This entire list is fucking embarrassing. I know that I'm talking about an account with very little relevance and a relatively small following in the grander scheme of things, but I find the fact that anybody takes this seriously genuinely frightening. Like, it's scary. You could be walking down the street and somebody out there could be a Rivelino follower. Think about that. Also, the funny thing about these claims is that usually when you see somebody making claims like this, there often is at least some semblance of an argument behind them. Maybe some pseudoscience, maybe referring to the way nature intended it to be. Rivelino's followers seem to be under the impression that it's true, just because he's saying it. Which brings me to my next point. Rivelino often tends to tweet these little one-liners, which usually just lay around with no backing or evidence of any kind behind them, just kind of creeping out and judging random pass-buyers. Small tits are fine, short hair is a crime. Boys wear sneakers, men wear shoes. Her naked tits are like two big eyes watching me watch her. This truly puts love in Lovecraftian horror, Jesus Christ. But there are certain topics which he dwells on more than others. One of them being these weird pictures of green lines drawn over people, which illustrate the concept that he calls leaning in. The general idea is that if you lean in as a man, you're showing your weaknesses to women and turning them off in the process. It generally only applies to posture, however, that's not the only thing it's limited to. As Rivelino, is spooning okay?
Generally speaking, spooning is loving and protective. She is being vulnerable by allowing you behind her. Check out the protective vibe in this photo. Also, see how his hand is on top of her hand, protecting her. That's important.
Now the problem with this ideology is double-layered. From the start, it's interesting how much Rivelino tends to tweet about the green line ideology, in spite of the fact that nor in his tweets have I found even a drop of evidence that it even means anything. You're essentially saying, look, my green lines look cool. Maybe you should abide by them for the rest of your life. Moving along, even if it was true, I think it's something we should try to get rid of instead of embracing. Maybe I'm not an expert on relationships, but if you decide to spend your life with someone, you should be allowed to discuss vulnerable topics with them, rather than worry about whose hands are on top when you hug them. Also, do you remember that weird profile banner with Joe Biden's bulge? It is essentially an extension of this post about the green lines.
Left photo. Her pussy is looking to his cock. His cock is facing the world. This is correct. Right photo. His cock is looking to her pussy. Her pussy is facing the world. This is wrong.
2,800 likes. I'm gonna go jump off a bridge. Yeah, fuck political discourse. Fuck trying to judge political figures based off their actions. Watching politicians' dicks is the most logical and heterosexual thing one can do. Another thing Rivelino likes to do quite often is posting pictures of two different women side by side with the caption,
"What you consider beautiful will guide your choices in life."
essentially implying that I'm actually not even sure what he's implying anymore. I think he's just saying that people who look a certain way he doesn't approve of are bad people. In some of these photos, it literally looks like the message is, having big boobs is a red flag in a relationship. It's fucking concerning. And one last thing worth mentioning is how he belittles people with a different fashion sense. Ask Rivelino, does wearing Vans make a girl act slutty? Or do sluts like wearing Vans?
Both. A man with confidence wears a suit. Wearing a suit makes a man feel more confident. A similar dynamic happens with women in Vans. Vans are a gateway drug to bad taste and degeneracy.
Posts like these in particular fuck, I need some water. Posts like these in particular get to me because I don't know how apparent this is, but I'm not trying to present myself as the most masculine person on the planet right now. And the reason I do that is because it gives me a feeling of comfort, which I have not found before. Now, is it possible that this comfort I'm gaining from speaking like this is going to disappear and it won't actually mean anything? Sure, but what I'm saying is that, number one, there are many people which, like this, get to find themselves, and I'm finding myself like this as well, even if it's not going the best at times. And in life in general, the way to find yourself often is just experimentation. Because nobody else can tell you what's comfortable for you. You must know that. Experimenting with the way you dress, the way you act, the people you surround yourself with is really the only way to find how do you want to act, how do you want to dress, and who do you want to surround yourself with. I mean, maybe there are other ways, but it's certainly better than learning from a Twitter account ran by a borderline psycho. So, this is the part of the video where we essentially hit rock bottom. I know it's difficult to believe, but things do actually manage to get worse from here. With consent issues. Here's a retweet Rivelino has made a little while back, which sort of caught my attention. If you want to try something very different in the bedroom, please do not ask your lover for permission. Just break it down into baby steps and lead her through it. Yeah, not asking your partner for permission before sex.
I wonder what's the name for that. I know I have said this a few times up until this point, but the fact that anybody takes this man seriously is genuinely scary. I said at the start of this video that dating coaches have the power to cause guys to become sex offenders. And I really wasn't joking. Another thing which is very concerning throughout his tweets is how he compares women to children. She is like a child. Do not expect her to take any responsibility. Your girlfriend is not your confidant. She doesn't want to hear your doubts or your fears. That only scares her, undermines her faith in you, and kills her sexual attraction for you. She wants and needs a strong, resilient leader to guide her and protect her. She is like a child. Would you argue with a child? Would you ever try to win an argument with a child? Would you ever try to win an argument with a child using facts, logic, reason, things the child isn't ready to understand? She is like a child. Well, you wouldn't fuck a child, would you? Now, what I'm saying here is not that Rivelino is a pedophile. These tweets don't imply that. What I'm saying is that based off these tweets, he basically views women as people with the mental capabilities of children, which he can take advantage of. I keep reiterating that I'm not a relationship expert, but it really does not take a genius to figure this out. If you believe that you shouldn't explain your actions to your partner because they can't comprehend them, you are asking for a disaster. She's either going to leave you because you realize that you not only don't consider her an equal, you also don't consider her a person capable of rational thought, or, alternatively, you're going to force her to stay with you and follow your every word. Which, Rivelino would have you believe, is how relationships are supposed to work. It's one thing to say that men aren't supposed to show emotions and talk about their worries, which is already a bad thing. Men account for a disproportionately larger amount of suicides in the world than women, or any other genders. That number is not going to decrease by men hiding their emotions from the world, especially in their own homes. But it's a whole other thing to say that hiding their emotions somehow gives them the power to entirely control the life of their partner. I feel like I'm being a little bit overdramatic here, so please take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt, but picture this scenario. A guy is in a relationship. He most likely has some form of undiscussed struggles, as his life is revolving around this idea that if he shows too much emotion, he is going to lose his girlfriend. He has also been taught that his role in the relationship is to be the leader, to essentially make all of the important steps and decisions in the relationship and not discuss them with his girlfriend. He is in control of the relationship, and whenever she refuses to do as he says, he most likely doesn't take it lightly. This is most likely paired up with a sense of insecurity, as he is constantly worrying about keeping his frame, not leaning in, not showing emotion. He also has a lot of caged emotions on the inside. It's no surprise Rivelino says that women can't be abused. He clearly considers this a standard, an accomplishment even. It's clearly what his advice is leading to, or at least some kind of a version of it. It's also no surprise there's a lot of weird explanations as to why a girl might not want to be with someone, ranging from posture to the woman's fashion sense. Because most women are most likely able to sense that something isn't right from the values he has. It's a religion, really. It's a religion which tells you that controlling your partner is the right thing to do, and then offers you a ton of excuses to explain why it isn't working. It's like girl defined, except it doesn't even need a Bible. Now that I'm thinking about it like this, a part of me really wants to make a video about the reasons people fall for dating advice in this way. But this video is already 20 minutes. Fuck that. So class, what did we learn today? Well, mostly that dating coaches tend to be bad. Especially the one in this video, he tends to be really bad. But I have gone through a lot of dating coaches lately. I mean, I've made that video about them like 2 years ago. And the people I've talked about back then share a lot of traits with this guy. You know, there is a good chance I won't get to dating advice ever again, and I will make another video talking about it. But if you ever come across some dating coaches, and you're kind of thinking about what they're saying, take note of the stuff we noticed in this video, because it could be a bit of a red flag in a relationship with someone who's trying to save your relationship. So that's
cool. We have also learned that women do in fact have brains, and that not all horrible relationship advice on the internet spreads from heavily religious people. In fact, most of the people out there giving dating advice probably aren't heavily religious, but they are self-aware enough to steer into people's radars and make some nice money while doing so. Even if in this case the money is only made by selling frames with green lines within them. And that is actually about it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, sharing it with a friend, preferably one that actually watches dating coaches so he can leave an angry comment about my beta tendencies, so I can then make a comment response video afterwards. It might sound like a weird request, but if my call for an uprising video told me anything, it's that the best way to market yourself is just to make a lot of people unreasonably mad. You can also check out my Twitter account in the description below in case you're interested in whatever I do there. It's honestly quite confusing. I don't even know what I do there. Just if you want to know a little bit more about me and see the more messed up side of my humor, then go follow my Twitter. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're feeling thoughtful, feel free to share your thoughts with me in the comments. And goodbye everyone. See you all in a few weeks probably, when I analyze death grips.